Plutus by Patrick Sklar. Content warning. The story contains content related to cults, drowning, and torture, specifically waterboarding. You've been warned. Kai reminded himself that no one really was from Kota Kalimantan, a city so new couldn't have locals. Not yet, so why did he feel like such an outsider? The Hawker Center occupied an alley between two tower blocks, just flaps of canvas diverting the rain into sewers, and underneath them, an open market. Dozens of stalls selling all sorts of necessities, knickknacks, and hot food in a space narrower than Kai's own apartment. The sense assaulted him as he passed by. Here, the chemical stink of a homemade chicken vat, the grill going right beside it. There, synthetic coconut and eye-watering spices from the Laksa stall. He was dizzied by déjà vu, by another alleyway village, by the chasm of time between leaving that place and arriving here now. He shook himself hard and popped the flavor tab. The mint obliterated every other scent and taste. He muttered his mantra to himself. Every step you've taken since you left has been easier since the last. Every decision you make is the right one. The words felt emptier than ever, but Kai would still see it through. By the end of the day, he would either have everything he'd ever wanted or not. He could hold off the self-doubt until then. It was the shop at the back of the alley he was here for. Unlike the wheeled carts and folding tables, it was a permanent structure, or else someone had made an effort to make it seem that way and seemed as out of place as Kai did. It would have fit right in with every other storefront in his own neighborhood. It had nailed the cloying retro-quaint style that was so in vogue these days. Forward panels, complete with weathering and peeling stain, randomized flickering in the lights over the entrance. The shop looked crumpled, too, like the structures to either side of it had been moving in, crushing it millimeter by millimeter. The whole thing gave off a stink of trying way too hard. And for a moment, Kai felt right at home. As he approached, a young girl held aside the strips of translucent plastic that acted as a doorway. She wore an oversized pink alley minimum t-shirt, like a dress, and held out a hand, palm up, as he stepped inside. Inside, the shop was definitely not like anything he'd seen in his own neighborhood. It was a jumble of mismatched, unlabeled boxes and teetering shelving. He couldn't see any organization to it, but the other customers didn't seem to mind. In one corner, two teenagers were picking through a box of sun-damaged and broken toys, acting like they'd found a treasure trove.
Didn't that actually set people's games on fire, though? Nah, that was the cover story for the recall. The truth was even stranger.
At another shelf, a skinny punk with fiery spikes for hair was tapping at a gachapon capsule, irritating some misty holotrap within. "This authentic?" he called out, and someone shouted from behind the stack of bins.
My daughter saved it from her last purge. Authentic as it gets.
Put it on my tab, the punk shouted back as they turned to exit. Kai got a glimpse of their face. He could swear he knew them from somewhere. Maybe if they weren't sneering, he could place them. A tag at his sleeve took his focus back. A short woman, skin as dark and rough as wet sand, was eyeing him with suspicion.
Looking for something, salaryman?
Soul sticks, he asked like he didn't know, like he was buying a gift for someone more interesting than he was. The woman tisked and gestured for him to follow, stopping at a low server tower. Mem chips of a dozen different makes were plugged in haphazardly. Above each of them was a light, either displaying red, green, or flickering between the two.
How many? She asked.
Dozen? Is that what people ask for? She shrugged.
Dozen's good.
Okay, yeah, a dozen. She pulled a sheet from a pocket and whipped it into a bag.
Hold it.
Then, quick as anything, she plucked green-lit mem chips from the tower, tossing them over her shoulder into the bag. He didn't bother counting. While she hovered over one mem chip, fingers dancing in the air as its light turned from flickering to solid green before yanking it out, Kai's mind was elsewhere. On a vertical farm, mimicking his auntie's fluid movements as they plucked fist-sized raspberries from a bush that spanned the entire wall. Catching them in their aprons.
12.
Kai nodded and followed her back to the counter, blinking away the farm and the auntie and the red-stained fingertips. That was a decade and 5,000 kilometers away. In the here and now, he had his hollow pad out to pay.
No credits for soul sticks.
Right, he'd been told as much. He pulled out a fistful of bills, a mix of ocean rupiah denominations. He'd never had a reason to use the scannable plastic currency, but he knew they were printed in huge quantities at the outset of Kota Kali's construction. One of the many pointless screw use Ocean gave the megacorps that had fizzled when reality had set in. Except in places like this, Kai supposed. Reality hadn't caught up with them yet. Not here. Not yet. Kai was starting to piece something together. A puzzle he'd rather not solve. The grain in the fake wood was just a hair too good. The retro lights buzzed at just the kind of frequency no one would intentionally subject a customer to. This place didn't just look old. It was old. Older than the city. Unmoving as the foundations of the tower blocks were practically laid on top of it. I don't belong here, I don't belong here, I don't. He dropped a bundle of bills on the counter and hurried out. It was too much, but he suddenly felt like he couldn't trust himself to count, whereupon he collided with the kid from the doorway, his bag flying from his hand, sending the contents clattering on the asphalt. He bent over to scoop his soul sticks up, finding a few, looking around frantically for the rest. The girl had picked up a handful and was holding them to him. "Give me those!" He swept them from her hand and into the bag. "I'm sorry," she said, eyes on the ground. "I'm hungry," and he put his hand up to cut her off. "Ask in there. I think I penned 10 times whatever those are worth." At the mouth of the alley, he caught an autop and gave it the uptown address. Whatever these are worth. Truth was, he didn't know for sure. They might be priceless, or he might be a gullible idiot. Once he was airborne, he steadied himself. He took a breath. He peeked at his haul and counted them. 11. That little shit. Jeremiah, he insisted, was wearing a dark green robe over casual clothes as he opened the door.
"What's the password?"
Kai was stumped. "You didn't tell me any password. You just told me to get Z's." Jer barked a laugh.
"Calm down, Kai. It's cool. There's no password your first time. For the record, though, it's a lap."
"Should I be wearing a robe?"
"Oh, this? Nah, this is just for setting a tone. We're doing some dark magic after all, eh?"
If Kai was a transplant, Jer was even more so. He transferred here from a satellite office in Malay City, his thin limbs a testament to the low-graph habdomes. Jer led Kai down a hall to a strange office setup. One big console station taking up a corner of what would have been a dining room. There were 2 seats in front of the rig. One fancy ergonomic recliner with built-in gaps for jacks and BMI inputs, and a plastic stool.
"Don't worry. Guests get the good one. Take a seat and I'll take those."
Kai handed him the bag before leaning back in the chair. "I only got 11. I don't know if that's enough."
That's plenty."
Jer brought out a low brass bowl and placed it above the hollow monitor projector. He dumped the soul sticks into the bowl.
"We're going to go in right away. Need to pee? Your setup will be twinned to mine, so no worry for not knowing the way. Nobody does their first time. I mean it, though. Do you need to pee?"
Kai shook his head.
"Oh, I guess you probably have some questions, eh? Well, you're about to get a whole lot of answers and riches beyond your wildest dreams besides, but there can't be any doubts before we do it. So, ask away."
Kai's doubts were multiplying by the second, and figured he should probably dive in before they actually overwhelmed him. But one was jumping out right away. Did Jer's condo say riches beyond your wildest dreams? It had a nice view, Kai supposed, with the base of the Makota Langit visible in the afternoon light, but there was hardly any furniture, besides the fancy chair and the 1G adaptation exercise equipment. Expensive, though, he supposed. There was a takeout container on the floor, and not even fancy takeout.
"No questions. Liar. I'm excited too. I love introducing the newbies. First of all, I bet you've got no idea what I had you buy."
"Soul sticks."
"Soul sticks for opening the way."
"They're keys?"
"Every death, everywhere, creates its own doorway into hell. These," he began, lifting one soul stick out of the bowl, "are just alive enough to count. Each one's a little AI creature on its own, feeding 1,000 fledgling programs a million Boolean quandaries. Given enough time, randomization becomes consistency, becomes something. It's impossible to measure, but it's predictable, like a reverse half-life. At least one intelligence emerges, or, to put it another way, he snapped the mem chip in two and let the pieces fall. A soul. Then he produced the lighter and touched it to the rim of the bowl. A bright blue fireball foomed up and dissipated against the plastered ceiling. Oily, acrid smoke followed. Joe winked. Just setting the tone. Come on, let's do this. Kai's jack was resting against the lip of his BMI port, just behind his right ear. Joe set himself up and plugged in. Kai followed right behind, the scrape and the bite of the jack, and then... Rushing water. He heard it but couldn't see it. His visual adapter slow to adjust to the net space environment. Mumbling voices? Chanting, maybe. He could feel a tug, too, but it wasn't mimicking any physical sensation. It was just tether pulling him forward. His feet were moving, the water was growing louder. Finally, Joe stopped them. The tether was severed, and as it was, Kai's vision was restored. It's a planet, Kai thought. It resembled the projections of Earth and its millions of microsatellites back before the cleanup. One dense core of data? A program, surrounded by erratically orbiting information? And surrounding the whole system like a moat was a rushing river through net space, bending and changing even as Kai watched. Around the moat, looking outward like sentinels, monochromatic robed figures. Each of them carried a flaming staff, and not one of them left an impression anywhere other than his visual inputs. They may as well have been holograms. It was an absolute mess. An absolute disappointment. Take a walk around. Breathe it in, Kai. This is the real deal. He circled the tangled mess of data and couldn't make heads nor tails. It was just trash. There was an algorithm in there, sure, but that one's gone moldy. Too wonky. Its inputs were insane. Its outputs impossible. But there had to be something to it. There needed to be. Then Kai finally saw it. As the orbiting data detritus aligned itself with his perspective. One para-ideolic image, undeniable, existing for a femtosecond but seared into his mind. A skull. I know that look. Joe was beside him. You've seen its face. It's amazing, isn't it? But there's even more. Behold! He was right, of course. Like a cipher, the skull made the mess into a readable code. Kai gulped. Is it sentient? An emergent AI, like the soul sticks? All those little minds. Thousands of Boolean souls. Sizzling back at the condo. Oh, no, no, no! It's more than that, and less. It's entirely itself. It's possible, to read its entire history from the current positions and speeds of the data that orbit it. It really was just some bit of financial algorithmic software left to grow mold and copying errors into the corner of the net. But it never stopped. It took in information ceaselessly. Eventually, it factored itself into its own calculations. Now it's this, not an AI. It's almost a god, Kai, but mindless and focused and ours. A godhead of capitalism, delivering prophecies into the void. Kai sensed the tether reactivated, and Joe pulled him in. The spray of digital river couldn't wake him from the sudden stupor he found himself in, tracing stray comets of genius, any one of them an answer to a trillion-credit question. It demands nothing from us, Kai. If there were no one to listen, it would speak all the same. But its worshippers have their doctrines. This is a church, Kai, and the river is an altar. And this is a sacrifice.
With that, Kai was submerged. He tried to swim, but his body was rigid, just tether-bound all his limbs. He called up his emergency command prompt, anything to snap himself back to reality, out of this net space nightmare. Nothing happened. This was his reality as far as his mind was concerned. Water filled his lungs and stars swam before his eyes, but even through the panic he could see the pattern in the stars. They developed agonizingly slow, into pixels, then into detail. An image, a city. Kota Kalimantan, he could tell its distinctive topography surrounding the Makota Langat recognizable even as his most instinctual animal mind fought for supremacy at the end of his life. This city was made of light, but one light shone the brightest. Kai knew that it was his own, there at Jeremiah's condo. He saw his entire life, up to this painful point, laid bare in brilliant, jagged lightning bolts. His own zigzagging movements around this corner of the world, the untaken roads resembling withered branches, further and further back, until he could see his own starting point, where his light was the faintest. Every choice he'd made in his life led him here. Every decision you make is the right one. He left his past behind, let his history fade into afterimage. When he followed the light back to Kota Kalimantan, back to where the virtual water burned his lungs, he saw his own light didn't end there. It moved beyond this point, into the future, no longer a jagged, ragged lightning bolt, but something stronger, alive. Every detail of his life had been fed to the algorithm, and it predicted and curated where it would go next. The light cut a path across the city, forming a brilliant line, and it intersected with the elevator. There it began to climb, up and up, coiling like a greedy worm to the top, and from there it climbed still into space, splitting and splitting like a hydra that touched Luna and Mars and every satellite and every rock and every asteroid belt, and Kai was drawing in one wheezing lungful of air. He was in Jer's condo, but as he blinked tears from his eyes, he saw they were not alone. Jer and a dozen others surrounded him. A strange mix of folks, all wearing robes, all looking down at him with joy in their faces. One woman with a water jug in one hand pulled a soaked rag from his mouth. Then Jer was close. "Did you see, Kai? Did you understand?" Kai nodded. "Yes, yes! God, yes, I did!" And when he tried to speak, he wept. Jer kissed his lips, his forehead. He was crying too. They all were. "Say its name, brother Kai!" "Plutus! I saw Plutus!" "Plutus!" The other spoke. A dozen hands gripped his. One older man embraced him, almost crushing him, until he was gently peeled away. He remembered, then, the drowning vision. More was still coming back to him. There were other bands of light traveling across the city to join him, ascending the elevator alongside him, surrounding him, twisting and knotting around him like rotting snakes. Everyone in this room had been in that vision. Everyone's destiny laid out so clearly. His family, he knew. They were his new family. All right. Yeah, thank you. That took about 2 hours longer than it should have, I guess. Yeah, so I started around 20 and now it's midnight and 27, so yeah, that's fun. Well, there is one upside to like repeatedly reading out this stuff. I actually understand what's going on, I think, at least a bit. Yeah, I'll just ramble a bit now because I've decided that I've earned it after reading this story for 4 hours now. So, yeah, okay. Here, Anak. This guy. Is he the guy from the beginning, you know? Here, at another shelf, a skinny punk with fiery spikes for hair was tapping a Gachapon capsule, irritating the misty hollow trap within. "This authentic," he called out, and someone shouted from behind the stack of bins. "My daughter saved it from her last purge. Authentic as it gets." "Put it on my tab," the punk shouted back. As they turned to exit, Kai caught a glimpse of their face. He could swear he knew them from somewhere. Maybe, if they weren't sneering, he could place them. Yeah, I read that for a bit. It ran away from everything, escaping to the slums of Kota Kalimantan. Now their only goal in life is to burn down everything Nebula stands for before burning it out themselves. That sounds like someone who would go into a fucking weird shop and buy a gachapon or whatever and sneer at everyone. Yeah. Also, I don't know how I didn't catch that when I was reading that thing, but it's clearly just someone being taken into the Zwicky group. Zwicky group? I don't know. And the Zwicky group apparently is a cult, so that's fun. And yeah, sure. The Wayland Consortium is a vast, unconquerable labyrinth of corporations, subsidiaries, micronations, and shell companies. Throughout this maze, there are certain unlit corridors, locked, nameless offices, entire windowless floors of corporate headquarters that exude an aura of somebody else's problem. It is within those oubliettes that Zwicky Group can be found, should they allow it. From those darkened corners that their grasp extends, silently aligning wherever Wayland cannot be seen to be. Very cool. I like it. It's a very cool card. And I've decided to just ramble a bit because I've earned it, I've decided. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, the ability, the first time each turn you gain a credits through an ability or an agenda or operation, you may draw one card. So I guess Hedge Fund now also draws you a card. I guess so does Offworld Office. I'm assuming we'll see some other operations that make you money. Well, it's cool. And then we have Rio Phoenix Ono with. By the way, I very much love the new setup of the cards. Also, 17 influence is very neat. Haven't seen that in a while. There we go. Waved goodbye as his parents enrolled Zim in Nebula's Protostar program for young performers. For the next decade, Nebula controlled air education, diet, health, dress, and friends, modeling her to be the next big pop idol. Under pressure to succeed and with the absolute control of NBN, Z went supernova. It ran away from everything, escaping to the slums of Kota Kalimantan. Now their only goal in life is to burn down everything Nebula stands for before burning out themselves. Yeah, I guess representations for people with pronouns that aren't standard? I don't know. I am not someone who is affected by it, so I don't mind. It's a cool thing to see, I think. Yeah, just pointing out that I'm the wrong person to ask about that, I guess. But yeah. That being said, I like the setup. I do really actually kind of like the fact that they put a place to add the pronouns. Only gripe, we don't get pronouns for corpse apparently. Corpse are people too, how dare you? In any case, yeah. The first time each turn a run becomes successful after a subroutine resolve. During that run, gain a credit and the corp trashes one card from HQ. Oh no, I ordered Desperado slash Desperado and more from Wish. Well, honestly, I'm excited for it, especially since it makes a banner something that can maybe be played, which is cool. And I guess I also made I made a sheet that is what's the worst that can happen to you if you run a random ice. I guess if you're interested, just hit me up or whatever. But yeah, yeah. If you face check an ice, that's how we say it. Yeah, that's cool. And I've decided because I've earned it, I'm gonna talk about the new cards. Come on. Elevation. All right. What do we have here? I want them as full cards so I can at least speak about them a bit. Rising Tide looks much better when Cleaver is gone. I like the idea. Very excited to have to force my girlfriend to make a Rising Tide alt art that's just her beaver fending off Rising Tide, her what's it called? Her logjam beaver fending off a wave. That's gonna be cool. Gamer Dragon Pro. Yeah, its Turbine is gone. I never played Turbine that much. That being said, I do love my ultra tall, what's it called? My ultra tall servers in Atea, especially using Surveyor. And just real quick, where was it? No, that's the wrong button. No, that's also the wrong button. Where is it? Yeah, you're getting the full experience here of me looking for something while I'm unsure where to find it. There we go. Suchen. Um, yeah, Surveyor. Come on, give me Surveyor back. I want Surveyor. Give me Surveyor near print or reprint or whatever. Give me Surveyor. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Yeah, give me Surveyor. And then, in any case, Game Dragon Pro. Actually, kind of excited. I guess it is +1 strength that you need to hit the Bran with the with the with the banner. Seems like a cool idea. I'm down for this. I'll have to see how it goes, and I know that I'll not play it well, but who knows. Then we have Side Hustle, just a profit of 4 credits and a card over, well, call it 2 turns, 3 turns. Depends how many runs you do. You probably don't really want to make more than 2 runs per turn if you're Sable. So we'll see how many runs you'll actually make too. And then how quickly you actually get this. I'm bad at face checking, I'm bad at running as a runner, so maybe it's exactly what I need to learn to run more. One gripe, it took away my beloved daily casts. There were amazing alt arts there. Why did you take away that? Come on. That's... I don't like NSG anymore. They take away my Surveyor. They take away my awesome alt arts. How dare they? Also, who stole Bass's hat? I am very mad at HB. HB are definitely the bad guys because they stole Bass's hat. Bass never did anything wrong and they just stole his hat. How dare they? His hat is his, like, defining character trait, as you can find out in Bass's flavor text. I'll show you. Bass Shuriboga. Here. The coordinator is always calm, always smiling and always tolerant. A worker who knows his skills, knows his roles and knows his place. No master need look into his plastic eyes and fear the flames of revolution or quake at a forgotten class reaching for self-expression. But who ordered him to wear that hat? Yeah. His hat is gone. How dare they take away his hat? That's... Alright, top-down solutions. The instability of human brain tapes is directly proportional to the number of limbs given to a biroid, so we've begun phasing them out for something better equipped. A human brain tape could be working alongside an octopus for weeks and never have an inkling. I mean, no idea who that is, but very grim. Also, love the pre-OSHA, I guess OSHA is American, who cares? I'm not American, but like, pre-work safety picture of the guys sitting on the steel beam. Also love that they include the guy who was sitting backwards. I think that was also during the time when gravity was first tested, so some people were still sitting backwards, but you know how it is. IP enforcement, yeah. It's a really cool card actually, but well, I guess its strength will kind of depend on how well you can give the runner tags. I'm curious about it. It is really cool. Love the Anthill. It's quite a reprint of Rashida, but you know, it's something. It's cool. I like it. Getting a profit of 1 credit immediately, and getting a profit of 5 credits and a card over 2 turns. Yeah, a lot has been said about it, I guess. So yeah.
And then Kessleroid. It took me a while to realize that they were looking at Kessleroid. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times, but yeah. Also, a Kessleroid. The detritus of failed incursions accumulates. Instead of sweeping it all away, the parsimonious psyop should nudge the debris into defensive positions in the server's metagravity well. Yeah, a black hole in waiting. Silandra, we're doing advancement stuff, I guess. Sure, why not? Key performance indicators, yeah. Nothing extremely fancy, but I'm sure it'll come in handy. Only the most interesting takes from me today. I know, it's late. I have class tomorrow morning, but who cares? I'm done. I deserve this. Alright. Measured response. I am a big fan of the idea. I'm not someone who like enjoys kill a lot. I do kind of like traps and stuff, but like I played mitosis and what's it called? The brain rewiring one. You know what I mean, the core damage one. It was fun. Yeah. For meat damage, if you make a run, I am a big fan of threat coming back. So yeah. Fly swatter. Sure, you need evergreen virus counter removal. Why not? I was a bit disappointed about Makota, I guess. It's cool, it's nifty, but for like the main thing, for like the city that we are living in, that we are learning about, it's a bit disappointing that, it's a card that goes into just some decks. Although, to be fair, we probably wouldn't want it to be too powerful and then have it get banned or something. But yeah, those are my very professional and very insightful thoughts. Sure. Well, I hope you at least had some fun with me today. And I guess thank you very much for listening to my inane rambles. Have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good whatever. I'll upload this and then I'll sleep. I probably need it.